Hey guys, it is once again Ben, aka the Fuseboxx. It is now time for yet another Fuseboxx Engaged, and today I am going to be spotlighting a creator who, much like myself, is trying to get the word out about his series, and I think it's time we all show him some love. Welcome on Ray Jameson, aka DM Ray.
Hello, hello. Heidi ho. Good
What's
to see
going
you.
on, bud?
All is
Great
well
to
in the
see
world.
you.
Yeah, going hard on the Kickstarter podcast streaming circuit, and having a really good time. I'm very much an extrovert. Some people, when I say, like this Friday, I'll be on 3 different podcasts, and everybody I tell, they say, "Man, you're a glutton for punishment." But I'm just having fun. I like talking to people, and I like talking about my stuff.
Well, you're doing it the right way. You got to get out in front of as many people as possible. Spread it like the gospel.
Yeah, I hear you. It's been going well. Kickstarter is doing better than it did for issue number 1, so I'm really happy about that.
Nice.
There's repeat backers from before, and we've had people getting catch-up tiers, so there's a little bit of successful traction going on with this little mini-series. I'm very happy.
Oh, that is awesome, man. Yeah, I took a look at the Kickstarter a little while ago, and yeah, you knocked it out the park already.
Thanks, man.
Let me see. Let me go ahead and bring that up, actually, since we're on the subject. All right. Whoop. So yeah, Madcaps issue number 2, $500 goal, already doing $2,000. Like, that is amazing.
It's great. It's very good. I just surpassed 2,000 in issue 1 after 4 weeks. It's only been 3 weeks now. I feel we can hit 3,000. There's a good stretch goal there. I can't say what it is yet. It's secret. We just unlocked stretch goal number 2, which is a pinup art, which we can talk about in a little bit. But we're doing very well. I'm very happy with the progress from last campaign to this one. Going very well.
Oh God, yeah. Like that's a dream come true. Like, I think a lot of people, including myself, like, struggle to, I guess, get more people on board when another issue comes out. It seems like a lot of people have trouble growing. So the fact that you're growing, that's a very good sign.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and I'm flattered that people have taken the time to actually appreciate overall this story. This is my first time on the creative side of a comic, so it's very, very encouraging that I'm getting the feedback and the positive love I've been getting. And like I already said, these repeat backers that I read issue 1, I loved it. I'm ready for issue number 2, issue number 3 being the last one, but it's all in all just been a really, really good experience for me.
Well, heck yeah. And so I guess I wanted to start off real quick. I wanted to ask you about you. Like, where are you from? Is writing your main profession, or is there anything else? Like, what's going
on? I started liking comics from before I was beyond my memory. I have an older brother. He's got about 5 years on me, and he was born in 79. So him and myself, I was born in the mid 80s. We were able to witness all of the cool things that bloomed from the unspoken alliance between comic book, cartoon, and action figures of the 80s that just made this really cool. Every franchise had a toy or a comic or a cartoon, at least 2 of those 3 things, and it was amazing. And we watched all the cool stuff. I watched a lot of reruns because it was a little after my time of, like, Masters of the Universe, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Silverhawks, another one, good example. Brave Star I really, really liked. And there's like a pile, like a bunch of different really cool things that happened at the time. I had the pleasure, the privilege of being able to watch every week a new episode of like Batman the Animated Series, voiced by Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill as the Joker, and Spider-Man the Animated Series, what is now referred to as X-Men 97 when it first came out in 92. And it was a real joy to watch that evolution. I loved comic books. Comic books definitely had some challenges in the mid to late 90s. It course corrected. Part of that had to do with the movie franchise and the movie industry wanting to tap in. I was there when Blade came out in 98. I was there X-Men in 2000, but the real big launch one was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. And I just love comic books. I love the stories. I love the heroes. When I moved across country, I originally lived not too far from Toronto, Ontario. I moved out west for work. I loved drawing, and it wasn't something I could ever make my profession, even though it was a hobby. So after I moved, I really missed friends and family. I left everything, and I would always look for excuses to hang out on webcam. So one thing that I convinced my friends to do was play Dungeons and Dragons with me. I never did that before, but because it was my idea, I was the dungeon master, and I did a very ambitious run, homebrew campaign. It was all my own creation, no modules, no anything. I chewed it all, so I know I didn't bite off more than I could chew, but there was a lot of chewing, we'll put it that way. And that homebrew campaign was the better part of 15 years ago now. And this comic book is actually based off of the first couple of stories of those homebrew campaigns. That whole world I made, and my friends helped mold the history. I have multiple different campaigns in that reality. And it was really cool just to like express it in some type of visual form, like a comic book.
Oh, definitely.
The only main difference is I took out my players' characters and injected in my own. But other than that, one of the cool things, I write my own character that way, and I could make them all bounce off how I wanted them to. And they were all based off of people I knew. So it felt very real for me. One of the best compliments I've gotten out of this franchise, or out of this story arc rather, so far, is the characters can't be compared to anything. It's not like it's this person but with a cape, or this toaster but with a clock in it, if you will. And I'm very flattered at that, because it's very encouraging. Not only are all four main characters unique to each other, but they're just their own thing. If you had to describe them, you wouldn't be saying they're like something. You'd be comparing the something to these guys, according to the feedback I've been getting. So very flattered, like I said before.
Oh, heck yeah, man. And yeah, I read issue number 1. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And I notice, but I definitely did notice it felt like it was a very D&D style story.
It's definitely medieval fantasy, that's for sure.
So like, I wanted to ask, I like the way you're telling the story, in that you're not bogging it down with too much lore. You're letting the characters you're letting the character interactions kind of flesh out the backstory. But I did want to ask though, like, about some of the aspects of this world. Like for one thing, what's it called? Like, are there different countries going on? Like, do you have all that fleshed out?
I do, but I've been very, very quiet on this. So one thing I've tried really hard to do, this story I wanted to feel very intimate. So there's really cool fantasy stories that are like high stakes. If I had to compare what I'm describing to, say, something out of Lord of the Rings, the third story, Return of the King, Battle of Minas Tirith, there's like literally pieces of buildings being flung at armies. And the Two Towers is a similar one, the Battle of Helm's Deep. There's like 300 individuals versus 10,000 Urukai, and like, how do you defeat those odds? Those are fascinating things. But this 3-issue miniseries, which it takes place in one night, I wanted it to feel more like Fellowship of the Ring, where even though there are some stakes, it's at a very low level. You could compare these guys arguably to street level characters. The reason I say that is although they have their own signatures and metaphorical haymakers, they're not seasoned adventurers. They're definitely, like in the first issue, as you read, I think by page 6 or 7, 3 of them almost get killed and overwhelmed. And I really wanted to make sure there was a gravity. Going back to Fellowship of the Ring, when you watch and Pippin knocks that bucket down the well, and then they get swarmed, and the swarm's backed up by a cave troll. That's not the most menacing thing in the lore, but when you see it happen, because it's scaled appropriately, the threat is very severe. And you're right there. The first time I watched that, I'm flinching and wincing at every time somebody ducks under that hammer getting swung, and it feels like it's very intense, even though it isn't cataclysmic or world splitting or anything like that. And this story, I've tried to scale it back accordingly. Even things like you mentioned, there are regions, there are realms, there are countries, but I just wanted to talk about this little, more like a big city or a big town or a little city, however you want to divide it up, called Ivywood. And I just wanted the story just to revolve around that area, nothing more. I just wanted to be this cool little intimate scenario where you're just, like you said, the story is about the people's interactions, and you happen to get a feel of what the world is around them. Another thing I tried really hard to do is I wanted people to feel like the world exists before the comic starts, and it feels like it exists by the time you're done reading issue number 3. So you will see references that you sort of can grasp, but I leave it enough to respect the reader where they're okay not having all the answers. They pay more attention that way. Maybe I'll see this answer in a little bit.
Excellent. I mean, I'm down with that. I'm just kind of, I'm the kind of guy, like when I start getting into a new story, I'm like, I want to know the world. I want to know how everything works. I want to know what the rules are, etc. But I mean, I totally get, like, I really appreciate telling a story on a small scale, because I think one of the things we've had way too much of a glut of in recent years is, like, every story has to be, if we don't stop this thing, the universe is going to get blown up.
No. Multiverse is so 2023. It's now multiverse now.
I'm sorry. I'm behind the times. Yes, now all of reality itself will be under threat unless our ragtag heroes can stop the giant Megazord monolith.
Yes.
Like I like stories where it's like, okay, no, like, we've got one problem in one little space. World's not going to come to an end, like.
Yes.
And I definitely love stories that are more character driven, and this definitely is character driven.
My interior artist for issue number 2, that is currently on Kickstarter, as we can see here, one of the nicest compliments I got from him is, he says, you see a lot of relatively younger writers, and they want it to be a cool comic, but every scene is, as he would put it, action, action, action. He liked my script because it has an ebb and a flow. There is action, but there has to be justification for all of these things. Especially issue 1, you're getting a feel for characters. You're getting a feel for, like you said, the world around you. You're not just wanting to see this person you barely know anything about deal this really cool thing with guts flying everywhere and stuff, but you have no reason to root for them, with the exception of maybe the character might look cool. But I wanted to make sure that when the cool things happen, you have a feel for these individuals, so even if there's some cool surprises, you're more connected and more invested, and just want to have a general interest in what's happening. A good example in this second issue, Chasgo, the blue-skinned elf, he is been holding back. He has this pet. It's a 3-eyed albino crow, and he calls it MX, and you don't know where it come from or anything like that, but leading up to that point, you've gotten to know a little bit about himself. He's this reserved individual, And you see at the back of issue 1, there's a bio of all 4 characters. So when you read through it, you understand all the reasonings to why he keeps to himself. So even though it's kind of cool and intriguing to see Emmix, this freakishly looking unnatural bird, you're also not surprised that he would hold back such a thing. And all those little dynamics I tried to apply to all 4 different characters in various different ways. And then when the action happens, okay, here's a person. I'm going to root for them because I'm hooked. I've got the hook. I took the bait, you know?
Yeah. See, I made the mistake that your editor was talking about, where in issue 1 of Outlaw Knights, I didn't spend a heck of a lot of time fleshing everybody out just yet, because it's a very action-packed opening sequence. It's very
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes an action sequence is really good for establishing something that's about to happen. So I had back in the day when I had the PlayStation 2, go back to Lord of the Rings just because we were talking about it, I had there was no Fellowship of the Ring, a movie version anyways, but there was the Two Towers. When you play when you play Return of the King, you finally get to play as Gandalf. And right at the start, they're just cleaning up the Battle of Helm's Deep. And that's to establish, here's Gandalf, this is what he can do. And it made sense the way that story was portrayed in that game to do that. And another great example is Gladiator with Russell Crowe. That opening scene, it's a lead up to like slaughtering an opposing army. And it's awesome. I personally just wanted to try something different. I'm not saying what I did was the one and only right way. I just wanted to, like, there's action by the time you hit page 6 in the first issue. Yeah, that's when there's an undead outbreak. But leading up to that, I wanted to, why are these 4 together? Well, the little guy, Dunnan, the half dwarf, he wants to metaphorically get the band back together for this job he keeps talking about, but you know nothing about it. And him and Madcaps, the largest one, they're just entering the city, and they haven't been to Ivywood in a while, and they're meeting up with the other 2. And by the time all 4 of them finally get together, they don't even get to reminisce. It's not really a reunion because this outbreak happens, and then shortly after the outbreak is staved, they help the guards. The full-blooded dwarf, Sarlacc, he looks over the bodies, and he recognizes one of the bodies of the fallen creatures, which is a local junkie addicted to this fictional drug called weave. And he goes on to say there's no bite marks on him, like what made him undead. And by the end, like, they start to conclude or speculate that this undead outbreak has something to do with the drug, but by the end of it, there's a curveball, and they're not actually sure. And that's where issue 2 goes at this point. In that case, the action, although it's awesome, you get to see Madcaps vomit lightning out of his gizzard, or Dunnan, who's rigged. Dunnan, who the little half gnome, half dwarf, who's has a magical arcane influence on metals and crystalline structures. You get to see him use this contraption, which is made from a telescope, which blasts raw arcane magic out of it, kind of like a concussive force. Or Sarlacc, even though at that point he's just in civilian clothes, he has a hatchet with him, and he does some really cool stuff. I tried to make it so the action wasn't per se the focus, but the action actually contributed to what the focus was. So it still feels like focus, even though that wasn't my intention.
Well, I can get on board with that. I mean, yeah. No, I definitely enjoyed it. I did, and it felt like it definitely gave me some vibes of like Baldur's Gate.
Cool, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Except it wasn't the end of the world, which I'm totally good with. But yeah, I figure this is probably a good time to go ahead and play the trailer if you're down.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
After Jazgo and myself received a surprise visit from Dunnan and Madcaps, we were able to help the local guards stave off the beginnings of an undead outbreak. I recognize one of the fallen creatures to be an addict to the local drug, Weave. After following a lead, the four of us were able to track down a group of bandits transporting the drug. Fortunately, we were able to control the situation, and Dunnan has a gift with aligning perspectives.
You get to choose which of my friends here you are going to speak to. If not, I'll pick for you.
We had no idea that this was the beginning of a very long night.
So one thing that I for sure wanted to underline, although there's a medieval fantasy theme to it, and obviously it's a comic book, the real underlying common thread amongst this entire story, the best way to put it, and I've said this on other podcasts, I know every human being, either they've experienced this or they're just not quite old enough to experience yet, but everybody has at least one friend or a group of friends. Over time, because of responsibility, family, in my case, I moved across the country, you just don't get to see your friends like you used to. Anytime you get to, and even if it's just for a fraction of time, even if it's just 5 minutes in a parking lot, your inner child is actually recharged, and you didn't realize how lacking of energy you had until you get that uplifting time. And this book is supposed to be an homage to that level of camaraderie. Anybody that's watching this, if you can relate to what I just said, I guarantee you will enjoy this book. It is not a huge commitment. It's 3 issues, with issue 1 and 2 available on Kickstarter now. It does have a medieval fantasy theme. It is told through the medium of comic book. But if you like any of those things, but especially if you have friends that you wish you got to see more, you can watch this and you will see, you'll see that slice of life from these characters and say, yeah, it's very obvious they're friends. I can tell how they interact with each other, how they enjoy each other's company, but also how they rub each other the wrong way sometimes, and various other things. But if you're on the fence about this, I've been pushing this book a lot. I guarantee you there will be something out of it you will thoroughly enjoy. Each character, they all have different rules. Why can't I use English today? Let's try this again. Each character has the common theme of who am I and where do I fit in the world. But every one of them expresses that very, very differently. The person you have on there right now, Chasgo Blundale, as I already mentioned, a blue-skinned elf. His people actually live in a mountain range that's just riddled with silver deposits. In real life, humans that ingest a lot of silver, it actually tattoos their skin cells blue. It's actually a real thing.
Oh, Lord.
One guy was interviewed on Oprah. He looks like Papa Smurf. It looks fake. It's not. These elves,
yeah, I remember that.
yeah, that guy. Chasgo, his people have a similar dynamic going on, but because it's also fantasy, all of that silver, I can't read. Oh, it's Raphael. Hey, Raphael. He's good company, man. But anyways, yeah, Chasgo, with all of that silver coursing through his body, he's actually highly resistant to magic, which is an interesting thing. When you combine that with his people's culture, they're very, what one would call xenophobic. They want nothing to do with outsiders. They're very brutal and a vicious type of elf. Mages, mercenaries, anybody that would like transport goods between markets, any type of caravans, they all steer clear of that mountain range. And his type of people, these elves are called Argers. They're killed on sight. There's zero tolerance for them because they're very dangerous lot. Chasgo viewed his people as very dysfunctional, so he wanted to leave the mountain range, but where do you go when you're going to be killed on sight by everybody that sees you? He was actually visited by something only known as a net. Now in issue 1, it's narrated of Chasgo writing to a net. And a net gave him some magical gifts. One of them is the ability to change his appearance. So in Ivywood, when he first traveled there, he donned a human disguise, which he's been using that disguise for years, and he's actually worked his way up as a noble's representative. dancing very close to danger. If he was ever compromised, guards would kill him as soon as they see him. But with that said, he's very reserved and very guarded. And I know almost every human being either knows somebody like that or can very much relate to that. Every human being, they don't wear everything about them on their sleeve. They usually hide things back to have that social ebb and flow, push and pull, if you will. If I said I liked RPGs, if I had a gun collection, for example, I'm up in Canada, I don't, but let's say I had a gun collection and I liked baking cookies, that's probably not going to be my opening introduction to somebody. It comes across as almost jarring. But over time, if I did like those things and I found out the person I'm speaking to likes those things, I could open up. Chaz goes in a similar dynamic where he literally is hiding his appearance, let alone everything about him. He's very, very reserved. And the other three characters, it's the same thing. They all have some type of thing where, how do I fit in my surroundings? Dunanini, as you have there, he's a half dwarf, half gnome. He's a little bit shorter than a dwarf and can't grow a beard, so he has a hard time fitting in with either culture. But he does draw from both bloodlines, and because of these things, he can establish a bond to a friend just as close as any family member. In fact, on the inside of the cover of issue 1, rather, there's a little bit of a transcript there where he's talking to his dad, kind of explaining that kind of thing. But
yes,
one of the coolest things about him is his contraption. As I mentioned, that telescope, you can see it over his shoulder. It syncs with his goggles. If he has his goggles on, it can track his eye movement, and he can actually like blast things. Usually he has like a shield and a smithing hammer, but he has that over his shoulder, which is kind of a little cool dynamic. I find it very humorous when you have this little tiny guy that's under 4 feet in height can walk up to a tree and just obliterate it into sprinklers. Splinters is the word I'm looking for.
Into sprinklers.
English today. Into sprinklers. No, splinters. Just pieces of like tree everywhere. Here we have, of course, Madrakis. Unlike Chazgo, he can't hide his appearance, so he embraces it. An interesting thing about him is, although he's over 6.5 feet tall, although he clears 350 pounds in body weight, he's not a fighter. He's not a seasoned soldier. He's not a mercenary. That armor he wears is actually cultural. It's like a ceremonial armor. He doesn't know too much about his people. He was hatched as an egg and raised by humans. So any little thing he can get about his people, he takes very seriously. So again, since he can't hide what he looks like, he just embraces his differences. Unfortunately, that does call on some trouble, especially in Ivywood, as you've read in issue 1 at the start. Although it's not explained, he does have to explain to the guards when he says who he is that Ivywood's charges were dropped against him. So he's not a fan of Ivywood. But despite all of this, despite being able to like vomit lightning and he looks really cool and imposing, the most dangerous thing about him is actually his brain. He's an amateur mage. He hasn't had the opportunity to study thoroughly, but you see it through issue 1 and you definitely see it in issue 2. He has a lot of arcane potential, and it's just a really cool thing to see that he has the potential to grow. And it's not in a way that tropes usually permit nowadays. He's not some big, dumb, oafish meat shield. This guy's actually like, has a lot of flavor to him on various different levels.
So you're definitely going for the, looks are deceiving aspect of his character.
Like that sword he carries, I mean, granted, he can swing it pretty hard. You don't want to be on the party side of that thing when he swings it, but he can't like parry. It's not like he would understand things like footwork and different techniques. That sword, it's purple. There's a whole story behind it. The only thing I can really say about, well, two things. First one is Dunn and Eni created it, but secondly, it's made of various different elements for very specific reasons. Two of them consist of silver and obsidian. That's what causes this color. But again, when you see this armored large individual with this blade, okay, this is a hack and slash guy. Sure, he can, regardless of whether it's well, but that's not the coolest thing about him by far.
And I was curious, are the Weir, are they kind of a rare race? Like, did not many people know about them, or?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's hard to pronounce his species, and that's on purpose. So his mouth, if some being had a mouth shaped like his, if it were to speak, it would not sound quite right. So you mentioned it's pronounced loosely Weir, but humans can't really actually pronounce his species name that well. Basically, Madcaps hails from a large kaiju-like electric eel that lives out in the ocean called the Great Storm Worm, and this is where he gets his ability to vomit lightning, essentially, where he can store it up. And yeah, there's not too many about them, not too many of them around, and the lore, the history, any type of information about his kind is very, very scarce.
Okay. Nice. And I think we missed our dwarven friend up here.
Sarlacc. Yeah, Sarlacc is his dwarven people left the mining life and decided to farm. Being stubborn dwarves, they wanted to farm in swamplands. And over generations, they've been able to clear out the swamp and make it fertile cropland. Generationally speaking, in their culture, because of this, they're able to track down and pacify things that go bump in the night. You can imagine in a fantasy setting, a swamp wouldn't be a very safe place to live or venture. Culturally, you mentioned D&D. Sarlacc is actually, he'd be the equivalent of two different classes. The first one would be a ranger, which makes sense, as I've described, but also he believes in, he's very devout to something known only as the divine. And over time, he had a calling to move into Ivywood and be a beacon of light to those less fortunate than him. So he has a couple of, we'll call them blessings or gifts because of his devotion. And it's not like he thumps his beliefs on anybody. But with that said, he is a walk the talk type of individual. He's not one for theatrics or bringing attention on himself. If you remember in the first handful of pages when Madcaps sees Sarlacc in his civilian clothes while they're at this festival, Madcaps says, "You look a little underdressed," and Sarlacc says, "This is a place full of farmers, not a battlefield. I don't need to stand out here." And he has this cool balance. The second class would be obviously cleric, where I'm going with, but he has this cool thing, dynamic, where he's very helpful with the community that he's decided to try and fit in with, even though he's pretty much the only dwarf. But he can also help out with things outside of Ivywood. Well, maybe there's a lot of caravans that aren't making it to Ivywood and have disappeared. That's more in his wheelhouse as well, which is really, really interesting. He has a lot of cool things coming down the road. You've seen some of it so far, but I mean, halfway through the issue, you finally get to see him with his adventuring gear. But issue 2, he's got some cool stuff going down, and then issue 3, just like the rest of them, it ramps up, and it's going to be a really good time.
And I'm guessing that he was the narrator in the trailer.
Yes, that's correct. It's the Scottish accent that gives it away. Apparently, dwarves are just Scottish, right? Shout out to Cable Foster, who voiced Sarlacc in that trailer, and Dunn and Eni. A couple of lines there were done by Michael Towson. One of the tiers I have here is Michael Towson. He's a professional dungeon master, and he's done a lot of different voice acting services for Disney and William Shatner and a bunch of others. This guy's worth every penny you put into him, and all the money you put into that tier, I don't get a cent of it. I actually lose $1. The proceeds go to pay for him to run this little D&D one-shot campaign. So if you like D&D, or even if you've never played before, if you back that tier, you will we'll arrange a time and we'll all play together. You'll be right in the thick of it within 15 minutes. He is an excellent DM, very patient, very accommodating, very organized, and really good at improv. It's a good time.
Nice. Lordy. I'm actually trying to get into voice acting myself.
Yeah. Right
But
on, man. I just came across these guys because I played D&D with a couple of pros, and it's a lot of voice actors that get into D&D now, so I just kind of overlap. That page you have right there, that's page 7 of this second issue. What you're seeing there is Chazgo looking through the eyes of his pet Emix as they're about to try and sneak into an enemy compound. So he's getting a lay of the land, and all of those different panels are things he's seeing as Emix is flying around.
So we're getting a little taste of Odin.
A little taste of something. A little taste of something. But there's multiple different tiers and add-ons. All of them I only gave the okay on if I felt it was something. If I had unlimited resources, would I buy this? Yes. So you can get it. There's a catch-up tier. You can get issue 1 and 2. There's a map of where this story takes place and a little bit outside of that city as well. There's multiple different covers. The one that's stained glass is actually metal foil to add to the stained glass effect, and it costs a bit more. So if you go up to one more cover, not that one, but yeah, that one there. So that's drawn by Kenny Calderon. He's drawn a lot for my publisher, and I met Kenny through my publisher. Shout out to Filbo Publishing. And that's colored by Dan Kemp. And I've said this in other podcasts. Dan Kemp has colored Marvel Knights in the late 90s, Daredevil, Punisher. He's also colored Amazing Spider-Man, the John Romita Jr. era, basically that Civil War, early, mid-2000s. And he has also colored over 100 issues of Spawn, basically 50 to 150. So that man's talent has been on the inks of Todd McFarlane, Capallo, Chance Wolfe. I mentioned John Romita Jr. already. This guy is a well-seasoned veteran, and I consider his intelligence on the topic of coloring world caliber, and very few can match him in my opinion. I'm very, very grateful he took a chance on me, and we're having a really good time. His brother has actually colored some of the covers as well. If you scroll down one, this is done by Jay Sloan, but Dave Kemp colored this one. I wanted something that debuted Emix. So here's the end product. I was very impressed. The very limited amount of color I gave him to work with, and he knocked it out of the park. This cover was so popular. A lot of people wanted this metal foil as well, but I didn't want to take attention off of the stained glass window cover. So instead of making that metal foil, there's a virgin pinup of that art, colored also metal foil, that you can get as an add-on. But also, the last stretch goal we just unlocked is the black and white inks of that image as well. People just really, really like that cover. For some reason, that's just appears to be the most popular as of late.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got everything. It's got that gothic look. It's got, he's in the bow pose. He's got the raven. It's everything you could want.
Yeah, it's just a really good piece. What do you have underneath that one? I'm just trying to remember. Oh yes, this is done by Russ Leach. Shout out to Russ Leach in the United Kingdom. He has actually he has a book out right now called The Atlantean. Issue 2 just funded, and it is all about. It's essentially the Kull story, which is one of the stories that helped inspire things like Conan the Barbarian. And he's been doing a great job. This is a Dunanini. You can see his telescope in action. You see him getting swarmed by some undead individuals. One cool thing about that telescope going off is a lot of people don't realize he's actually knocking a jaw off of a zombie. You see the jaw detaching. The more you look at that image, the more it's like a Where's Waldo page, where I found Waldo, and then you start looking at the rest. And there's all these cool things going on. That cover, you can just keep on looking at it, and you see more and more about it. It's really, really cool. But Dave Kemp colored that one. The one underneath that, this is Madrakis. This was drawn by Rod Ramos Rodolfo from Brazil. Colored by Dan Kemp. And this also, it happens in the book. Here we have Madrakis. I gave part of the script and I told him, I want you to draw just Madrakis in that scene and what he's doing. So here you see him pulling Earth upward using his arcane ability, which you haven't seen yet. So this actually happens in the comic. If you purchase the comic, you'll get more context to it. But the dynamic stance, the coloring, just, again, great teamwork. I'm really happy with how that cover turned out.
Oh, definitely.
And then, yeah, there's multiple tiers. Unfortunately, I got to cut this really brief. But let me talk a little bit about this one first. So this is Jenna Stark's stained glass drawing. I almost forgot here. Dave Kemp colored it. Sarlacc, being a devout individual, this is why you have this stained glass depiction. But he's picking up a book. Again, that's something that happens in this story, and it's something critical. And again, this one's metal foil to add to that stained glass look. All of the different tiers and add-ons, you can get t-shirts with different art from both issue 1 and 2, mostly covers. There's pinup. There's Michael Townsend, as I already mentioned. There's also what we're calling plush tapestries, which are actually just blankets, which is, again, various different art pieces that look like it'd be worthy of hanging off of your wall. There's t-shirts. The t-shirts, as I was mentioning, you can get a different you can pick the color, you get to pick the shirt size, and you get to pick one of 4 different art images. And there's so much cool stuff going on. There's bookmarks. If you like D&D, there's character sheets that depict all 4 characters rather at level 5. And there's different combinations of tiers. So if you want a book and a blanket, there's the fireside tier. If you want a t-shirt book, there's the enthusiast tier. If there's even the ultimate tier, which I think is the one underneath, and that is 1 blanket of choice, 1 t-shirt of choice, all the covers, bookmarks, character sheets, the map, the Sean Langley art in the top right, and somebody's already backed that one. Like, I'm flattered. I've got all these repeat people that are just like, yeah, give me more, shut up and take my money. I'm like, okay, all right, I got to step up. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this story. It is torture not being able to talk about this, but I can finally talk about number 1 a little bit. Number 2, well, it's about to get out there. There's not too much more I can say without just going down some really healthy rabbit holes of cool stuff. But if you look through this Kickstarter, you can get more detail. We're already funded. I really want to get that 3rd stretch goal. I can't reveal what it is, speaking about holding things back and feeling like you're tortured because of it. But I guarantee you, if you're on the fence about it, like I already said, if you can relate to missing your friends, if you like a good old medieval fantasy where you got monsters, melee, magic, mayhem, it's got it. If you're just looking for a comic book that's something different so you can feel intellectually stimulated without having to memorize 60 years of lore leading up to it, this is the book to give a try. I guarantee you this is something you would definitely enjoy. What did he say there? I couldn't read that. It's a little bit away. It's a great tier, and I've played... Oh, he's talking about the D&D tier. Yeah, if you like playing D&D, you could play with a pro for a very, very reasonable price. It's a one-shot. He likes to play with level 3 characters, but yeah, it's just a great time. Unfortunately, I've got to let you go, though.
It's all good, bud.
This has been a great format. I really appreciate you having me on here.
And I'm happy to say that while we were going over everything, I believe you picked up a backer.
Oh, right on, man. Whoever did that, thank you very much. I promise I will not be letting you down, and I'm very motivated to get number 3 done and out there for you. So if you got 1 and 2 there, number 3's in the works, and I guarantee you, like they say in volleyball, bump, set, and spike. Number 3 spikes, and it spikes hard. So get ready for that and stay tuned.
All right, bud. Yeah, anytime you want to come back on, hit me up. I'm happy to have anybody come on.
Beautiful. I really appreciate this. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yeah, bud. Thank you.
Bye for now.
All right. That was good old Ray Jameson. So yeah, if you haven't backed this book, I highly recommend that you do. It is, I read through the first story. It's very good. I really like how, again, one of the major tropes that I look for with certain books is I don't want the story to be front loaded with too much information in terms of like having just a big long narration of like, okay, this is how this works. This is how this works. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, that's lazy. You know, the whole thing is that when you're getting into a story, you let the reader put the pieces together themselves by slowly spoon feeding them little bits through the interaction with the characters naturally. And this book does that, and it does it well. So yeah, I highly recommend everybody check it out. Back this thing. He's got about 8 days left on this campaign, and he's offering a lot of services here. So yeah, let's make sure to make this a big old success. So yeah, this is going to be kind of a short one for today, I suppose. This is going to be kind of a short one for today, I suppose. But as you know, I am Ben, aka the Fuseboxx. You can find me on Twitter at Fuseboxx7. You can also find me on Instagram at Outlaw Nights. And you can find me on Facebook under my real name, Ben Fuselier. Fuselier. And if you have not yet, I have one little thing to share, because big ol' news here. In about 7 days, well, actually, no, well, 8 days, but, well, about 7.5 days, we will be launching. Whoop. What's up, bud? What is up, General Piggy? It is... You caught me right as I was doing my wrap up. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you have not yet, I highly recommend that you all sign up for Outlaw Nights issue number 2 email list, because in about 7 days, I am going to be launching issue 2 on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and Fund My Comic. We're hitting the trifecta, because I know there's a lot of people who have issues with one crowdfunding platform or another for whichever reasons, and I want to make sure everybody's got their shot at this. So sign up on the email list, and through the email list, I will be informing you all on the launch and about secret perks and tiers. But yeah, if you have not yet, go ahead, sign up for it, and let me share my thing really quick. I'm gonna do my trailer. I have to shill. The Outlawed Nights issue number 2. We're launching, baby. So yes, indeed, we are officially launching on May 1st. So you have no excuses to miss it, by the way. Everybody that watches this, I will find you and I will shove the link in your face. But yeah, if you haven't heard of it yet, if you're new to the channel, Outlaw Nights is a story taking place in the 31st century. Humanity has begun colonizing into outer space, and it is very much history repeating itself as the nations of Earth are all at each other's throats, competing over territory and resources. It is very much a chaotic time. And in the midst of this, our hero Cyrus Lawson... I forgot to mention the fact that piracy is on the rise. Crime is on the rise. Because the nations of Earth are very much in a totalitarian Big Brother state. But the further out into space you go, the less control they have. Because you see, they're spreading their arms a little too wide. People are slipping through the fingers. So crime is a booming. But in the midst of all this, our hero Cyrus Lawson, he moved to a small, insignificant, out-of-the-way colony called Therese. And he's not expecting a lot of trouble out there, you know? He's a heroic guy. He's young, he's brash. So, he joined the colony guard hoping to make a difference. But, he's not expecting a lot of trouble. But unfortunately, right at the beginning of issue 1, trouble comes right to his door as the pirates of the ship known as Hazard invade his settlement looking for a special piece of data. And this piece of data is so valuable. All the governments of Earth, all the pirates, everybody wants what that data is leading to. So this is a rat race in the making. And this is kicking off a 10-issue asterisk. I put asterisk because I don't know if it might be a little bit longer than 10 issues, because I've had to make each issue about 25 pages in order to make it affordable, which sucks, honestly, because I like to make longer books. But we are kicking off a big old rat race. And I can tell you that issue 1 is jam-packed with action. And issue 2, we're going to get a little bit more insight into the goings-on of the pirate world. And we're not going to miss out on the action. I can promise you that. We got a nice villain being introduced in issue 2. You're going to enjoy it. So yeah, get on that email list. And if I'm going to be offering a catch-up tier on the new campaign. But if you would like, I can also show you the Second Chance campaign we've got live on Indiegogo for issue number 1. If you just want to get issue number 1 by itself, just to kind of, check it on out, I highly recommend it. Because, we're going to be offering the digital and everything pretty cheap this go around. Let me just share my screen for 1 second. And there's the drop down bull. Here we go. Yes, behold, the Outlaw Nights issue number 1 Second Chance campaign. If you want to catch up on this awesome series with this awesome artwork, awesome colors, all the characters are sexy. Even the background characters are sexy. These guys, they don't have names. Look at how sexy they are. So yeah, I highly recommend it, folks. Cyrus needs you. So yeah, and I will put that link in the chat as well, just to be a wiener. All right. Sorry for the long spiel as I do my outro. But if you like anything I had to say, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications. And hell, if you didn't like anything I had to say, go ahead and hit the dislike button. Because whether you like me or hate me, it doesn't matter. It feeds me. I thrive on the attention. Thank you so much for joining me once again, ladies and gentlemen, and I will talk to you all later.